Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Stefan, and in this video I want to review for you the Repertoire books by Keith Snell. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. I would also like to thank my Patreons for supporting this channel. If you'd like to join them, there's going to be links below. Just a few words about this review series. So this review is going to be in 3 parts. In this video I'm going to review the Repertoire books. In another video I'm going to review the adult course by Keith Snell, and in a third video I'm going to review the kids method books, the Piano Town method book series by Keith Snell. So watch out for the 3 videos. There are going to be links in the description to help you get to the other 2 videos. So today is all about the piano repertoire books, and the reason why I'm starting with this one is because based on my audience, I think this is going to be the most useful to everybody, since most of my viewers are adult learners or people learning alone at home, and these books are really useful to anyone learning the piano. So the reason why I haven't talked too much about Keith Snell's books in the past is because the books are a little bit hard to find in the UK. I don't really see them in bookshops around here, and they are not the first ones that come up when you do an online search on Amazon or Music Room. But I do know that in the United States or North America, Canada as well, they are very popular, and I have seen them many times, especially when I go to New York and I see them there in the sheet music shops. Full disclosure, the publisher was kind enough to send me all of these books so I can talk about them, so thank you very much for them. And I would like to talk about this gigantic series or system of books called the Piano Repertoire books. The reason why I'm calling it gigantic is because if you look at the back, these are all the books included in this series. So at least 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, around 70 books in the series. Now don't be scared, because the way this system, it took me a little while to get my head around how this actually works, and although it's called piano repertoire, I would say it's very close to a method book system, even though it's not technically a method book. Well, let me just say that obviously these are repertoire books, so they include lots of pieces based on level of difficulty. And the standard series was the piano repertoire, which was broken down into Baroque and classical pieces and Romantic and 20th century pieces. And for each of these you had 10 books, starting from preparatory level, level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to level 10. So I think it matches the RCM exam board system. I think that's the Canadian, am I right? But in the UK we have 8 grades, so not quite the same. But the point is that for each of these levels you have a collection of pieces either from Baroque classical styles or from Romantic 20th century. And the reason why this is really important is because so many times, especially people learning by themselves, find it very difficult to find pieces which are appropriate for their levels. Playing something that's much harder than your level is never a good idea. It's nice to sometimes challenge yourself and motivate yourself with a nice piece, but in general, learning things that are not at your level is not the best way to progress quickly through piano and to develop your technique. Same applies to the other side. If you're, I don't know, level 5 and you keep playing level 2 pieces, it means you're not challenging yourself and you're not really pushing yourself to get better. So these books really provide an excellent way to find pieces which are at your level, and because they are broken down into 11 levels, so 1 to 10 plus prep, it's really well categorized, and the difficulties are even more separated than, for example, beginner, intermediate and advanced, where intermediate can be very vague. It could be early intermediate, mid intermediate, late intermediate. So in these categories, the pieces are going to be very, very well targeted to your level. Coming back, I'm trying to stay logical here. So what I wanted to say about the system is that although it's a repertoire system or selection, for each level you also have a sight reading book, Fundamentals of Piano Theory and Scales. So that means to me that pretty much when you learn piano, that's all we do, isn't it? We do pieces, we do etudes or technical pieces, we do scales, and we do a bit of theory. So if I put these 4 books together for each level, it's kind of a method that I can progress through from beginner to all the way the end of advanced. And the reason why it's not called a method book is because method books usually follow a very structured learning, in the sense that concepts are introduced which are reinforced by pieces and etudes. So for example, if you're in level 1 and you learn about the key of D major, you'll find pieces in D major, then the scale of D major, then the etudes in D major, then you learn about the repeat sign, then you find a few pieces with repeats, then you learn about staccato, and then you're going to find lots of pieces with staccato. So these books don't introduce concepts like that. They are just pieces, but all at the same level, but not necessarily following this logic that one concept is introduced at a time. And that's why they are not really considered a method book series, but if you think about it, you learn the exact same things, but in a different manner. So I wanted to point this out because it's a little bit confusing why you have all these other supplementary books apart from the repertoire books, which kind of looks like a method book series to me, but it's not a method book. There's also something called beginning piano books, which is before the prep level. And there again, you have a repertoire book, a theory book, technique book, and a reading book. So that goes before the prep level. So you have elementary, prep, and then level 1 all the way to level 10. Now, of course, you don't have to buy all of these books. These can be used as supplementary books with other method books. They can be used as supplementary books when you take exams, if you want to find more pieces around your level because the exam books don't have enough pieces. Or it's just an amazing collection to have if you don't want to buy lots of books by specific composers. I have lots of books, you know, by Mozart, Chopin, Beethoven, I don't know, Tchaikovsky, everybody. And I have their collections, like opus numbers. But if you don't want to have like an entire library of piano books, but you want to get the best of them, then if you buy these repertoire books, they're going to have the most popular pieces at that level from a huge selection of composers. Let's talk about styles. The repertoire books, again, come in different series. The standard one, as I said, is the piano repertoire, which is Baroque and classical, and Romantic and 20th century, and etudes. And there's also a CD recording, because of course, how rude of me, I didn't talk about Keith Snell. So he's an amazing pianist. He started in America, but now he lives in the UK, and he compiled all of these books, and he created the recordings for each of the pieces in the book, so you can actually listen to them as well. Besides this basic piano repertoire, you also have essential piano repertoire, which basically combines 17th, 18th and 19th century. So it's kind of a mix of all of them, again, from prep level all the way to level 10, but it doesn't have 20th century and modern pieces. So it's only 17th, 18th and 19th century pieces, not 20th century. And you have a favorite piano repertoire, which is even more condensed, which has 2 books. The first book is preparatory to level 5, and the second book is level 6 to level 10. And this is again 17th, 18th and 19th century pieces. So the 20th century and modern pieces are missing. Now, the one I have here, I keep holding this, is the new edition, which is progressive piano repertoire. And this goes from elementary or mid-elementary all the way to late intermediate. And this one contains everything. So 17th, 18th, 19th century, 20th century and modern. So if you want the books which contain the most pieces and buy the least amount of books, then this one is the best one to get. Now these ones, the reason why they're called progressive is because the pieces are laid out in the book in a progressive manner. So the first one is the easiest, the last one is the hardest, or roughly around that kind of level. This series comes in 4 books, 1, 2, 3 and 4, but it covers levels prep all the way to level 7, because it says in the book that when you finish level 4 of the progressive series, you can go on to level 8 of the standard series. So each book kind of covers 2 levels, so it's more condensed. I guess they selected the best and most popular pieces from the standard repertoire. Level 4 is kind of level 6, 7, 2 levels per book, let's just put it that way. So once again, to make it really clear, the progressive piano repertoire is 2 levels in one in each book. So the 4 books cover 8 or 7 levels, and they include all music from the repertoire, so 17th, 18th, 19th century, 20th century and modern. The standard piano repertoire is broken down into Baroque, classical, and another series for Romantic and 20th century, and that goes from prep to level 10. And then you've got essential and favorite piano repertoires, which combine 17th, 18th, and 19th century, but not 20th century. And they again go from prep to level 10, or you've got a 2-book selection. Book 1 is prep to 5, and book 2 is 6 to level 10. Now, that was the structure. I know that was quite a lot to talk about, but again, it's so many books and you really need to understand what is the difference between these series. Otherwise, it can be very overwhelming and you might end up buying the wrong series. Now, from what I read, these are very similar to the repertoire books published by RCM. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the Canadian exam board system, but these are apparently much cheaper than those ones, and because the RCM syllabus changes regularly, those pieces are not constant, so these ones you can use as a constant selection or library at home. Now let's talk about the pieces. So I looked through these and I actually played through all 4 books because I love these repertoire books. It's just sometimes you find things you've never played before. Most of the pieces I do know, but the good thing is that every single book contains original compositions by Keith Snell. And I think that's a really nice touch because, first of all, he's a very talented pianist, but also a talented composer, because the pieces do sound very nice and they fit well into these repertoire books. And it's also good to put something different there, something with a modern twist, but something that still fits into the general kind of soundscape of the books. Regarding the progression, I would say that it follows a rough guide of easier to hardest. I said this many times in my videos before, I don't think that there is an absolute way to judge whether a piece is level 4 or level 5. The absolute difficulty of a piece really depends on what you've played in the past and how well it sits with you. Obviously, we can say that the Moonlight Sonata is much harder than Bach's Minuet in G, but when it comes to pieces which are very similar in difficulty, if one of them is a romantic piece, another one is a Baroque counterpoint piece. If you've never played counterpoint before, you're going to find the counterpoint piece 100 times harder than the romantic piece. So it all depends on past experience, what kind of music you are used to, and also your own taste. And sometimes certain pieces sit much better with us than others. So even disregarding your past experience, a certain piece, which is the same difficulty as another piece, or deemed as the same difficulty, you'll find much easier because you either really like the sound or it just sits better with your hand, with your own rhythmic feel of your body. So what I'm trying to say here is it's very difficult to find an objective difficulty for pieces, but he really tried to put them in order of difficulty. Now, having said that, I did find some kind of interesting things. For example, Solfeggetto, which is in this just a few pieces after the Sick Doll, is in the level 3 book, and that was a grade 6 piece. I think it is still a grade 6 piece in the ABRSM syllabus. And then we have just before the Sonatina, which is a grade 3 piece, and the Prelude, which is a grade 2 piece or a grade 1 piece. I think it was actually in grade 2 in ABRSM a few years ago. So right next to each other we have a grade 2 and the grade 6 piece. Now these things happen in every single repertoire book because it's impossible to put them in an absolute order, but you will find that certain pieces will feel more difficult than the one before, so don't expect like a complete uninterrupted progression from the first piece to the last, but in general I would say that it's a progressive book. The same applies to my repertoire books as well. I try to put them in level of progression, but just because something feels like it's in progressive order to me might not feel the same to you. So this was my review of the repertoire books. Would I want these books? Yes, I think these books are amazing for anybody who is learning piano alone, but also for teachers, because many times I see on forums that music teachers, especially beginning piano teachers who have just started teaching really struggle to find pieces what to teach to students, especially those students who are really stuck on exam pieces. And if you have these collections, you will have so many pieces to choose from, and it's going to be very easy to assign pieces to your students based on their level. So that's why these graded kind of repertoire series are so good. You know, if you buy Schumann's album for the young, again, it's a great selection, but does it have pieces for elementary and advanced? No, it's kind of early intermediate to late intermediate. So having these is a better way to be able to select pieces for each level instead of having all the opuses as a library at home. Of course, if you like certain composers, it's very good to buy those books as well, but I do believe that these books are going to be very beneficial for those students or teachers who are looking for a progressive way of learning piano and would like a very good mix of pieces from all genres, all styles, and lots of composers, so you can have a taste of everything at your level. If you'd like to get these books, I believe they're quite easy to find in North America in any music shop, but I will leave some links below if you want to get them in the UK as well, or other parts of the world. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any more questions about these books, leave them in the comments, and check back for part 2 and part 3, which is going to be about the adult piano method book course, and Piano Town, which is a method book series for children and young beginners.